Achieving Significant Progress and Maintaining Minimum Conditions, Part 1. You may have heard about the need to achieve significant progress towards your state's targets for select national transportation performance measures. But are you confused? How is achieving significant progress defined, and how is it different from maintaining minimum conditions? In this two-part video, we'll provide clear explanations, first about achieving significant progress, and secondly about maintaining minimum conditions requirements. These requirements help ensure accountability and transparency in use of federal transportation funding by states. You'll learn if significant progress and/or minimum conditions apply to your state's situation, how each is measured and determined, as well as what happens if your state fails to achieve significant progress or maintain minimum conditions. In this first video, Achieving Significant Progress and Maintaining Minimum Conditions, Part 1, let's take a trip on Significant Progress Highway and examine significant progress. What entities does significant progress apply to? It affects only state departments of transportation, DOTs, not metropolitan planning organizations, MPOs. Significant progress applies to all performance measure areas except the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Improvement Program, CMAQ, which deals with emissions and traffic congestion measures. This means states must achieve significant progress for bridge and pavement conditions, reliability, freight movement, and safety targets. How often is achievement of significant progress determined? Every 2 years for all measures except for safety. For safety, significant progress is determined on an annual basis. Due to important nuances, safety performance measures won't be covered in this video. You can find resources on the safety targets and significant progress determinations for the safety program on the FHWA Safety Performance Management website at https://safety.fhwa.dot.gov/HSIP/SPM/fact_sheets_and_webinars.cfm. With significant progress for bridge and pavement conditions, reliability, freight movement, and safety targets, the state is in the driver's seat and controls what targets they set. FHWA will calculate significant progress towards target achievement using the Measure Computation Procedure documents published on the TPM website. When establishing their targets, the state should consider FHWA's methods of calculating the measures for the purposes of determining baseline data, actual condition, minimum condition, and significant progress. For instance, the state could decide to set their percentage of interstate pavements in good condition at less than 5% or at more than 50%. The published FHWA computation procedure will be used to make a significant progress determination. In the TPM Performance Management Form Reporting Portal, for each measure, the state enters the baseline and the 2- and 4-year targets for each performance period. At the midpoint of the performance period, the state enters the actual 2-year performance data. At the end of the performance period, the state then enters the 4-year performance data. The state, in collaboration with MPOs, determines the appropriate pace for driving towards target achievement. They collaborate to establish targets and can work together to adjust targets at the 2-year mark if they get better data or conditions change. The state can even establish a target that is below its baseline if it anticipates a decline in performance. For example, it may make sense to adjust the state's targets if the demand for travel in the state outpaces overall growth in funding for transportation, or in cases of natural disaster. How will states be evaluated? After actual performance data for the 2- and 4-year marks is available, FHWA will compare the targets the state set to the state's actual performance. There are 2 ways to achieve significant progress. One is if the state's actual condition or performance level is better than the baseline condition or performance by 0.1% or more. The other is by the actual condition or performance level being equal to or better than the established target. This means that if a target is a declining target, with the target equal to or below the baseline condition or performance, the state will need to meet the target to achieve significant progress. If by the end of the performance period the state doesn't achieve significant progress, it is going to need to explain why. When the state enters performance data, it will need to report on the causes and lay out the reasons and a plan for achieving significant progress in the future. Remember, coordinating with MPOs on target setting to the maximum extent practicable is required. In order to achieve significant progress, use appropriate data and collaboration tools, and include FHWA's measure computation procedures to set realistic targets that align with resources available. Now that we've covered achieving significant progress, you can move on to part 2 of achieving significant progress and maintaining minimum conditions, where we'll focus on maintaining minimum conditions. Working together, we can provide strategies to improve our nation and people's lives through great transportation planning. Download the companion document with helpful references on significant progress and minimum conditions at www.fhwa.dot.gov/TPM/videos.